Welcome all, Ben here from EWPRO. Looking at the weekly outlook, starting with the DXY. So nothing's really changed. We've got that WX extended wave Y. We're looking for that X2 and then the Z up for retracement back to that 38.2. On the H4, we may be in this correction. I'm looking at A, B, C, and then we get the larger C down. We're already at that 100 fib. Really like it to get a little bit further down. It's hard now though. We do have bullish divergence in here. So yeah, it's extremely choppy. Everything's really extremely choppy the last couple of weeks. So on the H1, we're looking at A, B, C down to this 100 fib. If you look in here, the only way you can really trade this now is self-stop just under the low. And if it tags you, well, there's your stop loss, and you sort of got an A, B, C in here, and then you get an A, B, C. It's going to be extremely risky trade, or else you could wait for a little flag up in here to sell. AU on the daily. So we're just looking at this last section. If you want to look at all this, you can go down on previous videos. So we're looking at this A, then we've got an A, B, C in the B wave, and then we're looking for that A, B, C. When we went down onto the H4, like I've explained, there was a couple of different ways we can look at this. We can look at it as an A, B, C, and then you get the A, B, C, and then you get the larger A, B, C, finishing these off. This A, B, C in here, it's still valid. We have a bear hidden here. So there is a possibility that this does give us one more down. But either way, even if we're just looking at an A, all this is B, and then the C up, we're still looking for downside on the H4. So on the H1, we got a larger correction. We got an A, B. We're looking for a C up. So yeah, if you get a bullish setup in here, you can look for that buy. You want to be moving to break even at the break of that top. We are getting a lot of bearish divergence, but it's like in it's in a B wave that we're getting that divergence. So yeah, if you get any buy set up in here, little flag, you could look for the buy to scalp. EU on the daily. This one's quite difficult. On the daily, nothing's changed. We've got WXY, extended wave Y. We're looking for that X2 up to the 38.2 and then a Z down. H4, this is where it starts to get a little bit more difficult. I was looking for this Z down. I put a trading view idea out. We had that bear hidden. It started to go and then it didn't. We never got that Z down. It's starting to be a larger correction. So, and the chances of this getting this Z down are becoming slim now, because it didn't go. So it's really, it's extremely hard because, you know, in here we got bearish divergence. You know, we could look at this as an A, B, C in here, and then you get an A, B, C, but it's really only just scalping. I mean, for the buy, you really want to break above this top. You know, you could put a buy stop just above the top on the H4, you know, because this is looking rather bullish. Put a buy stop just above the top, and yeah, you got a lot of risk though, you know. Yeah, I'll just leave it alone for a while. GU on the daily. So we're looking at that WX extended wave Y. We're looking for that X2 and then a Z down. Looks like this may not be over. This wave Y still may not be over. You can see that we're getting some sort of A, B, C in here. If we go down to the lower time frame. So we've bounced off this 100 fib. We're looking for an A, B, C up to that 100 fib. We do have a bear hidden here. So I'd really like to see, you know, a break out of the trend line and a correction and a sell, just to go and break at least that low, and hopefully it goes and breaks that low. On the H1, see, we got the bearish divergence. See that we got that bearish divergence, so it starts to get risky to buy. I'd be, yeah, sort of got a nice impulse down and then a very deep correction back up. You can see how choppy this is going up. You know, it's extremely choppy. Yeah, the currencies have been, the majors have been quite choppy the last couple of weeks. So, and you on the daily. So nothing has really changed. We're looking at WXY, X2, and then a Z down. But again, as you can see, we may get an A, B, C in here for a little flat for more downside in wave Y. Wave Y may not be over. I dare say we will get across on this MACD here though, but we haven't quite got it yet. So as you can see, we're looking at an A, B, and a C. H1 started to go. We had this little flat in here. Wasn't the nicest because we had this in here, but this started to go and then it fell over again. Everything's been really choppy, so it's been really difficult to trade it. But you know, if you get a buy set up, I'd be looking for the buy for a little bit more upside, up to this 100 fib, and then you'd definitely be starting to look for the sell. We are getting all this bearish divergence, so it is getting really risky. So yeah, you may just want to wait until you get a sell set up and then take it. Wait for this to do whatever it's doing and then give you a sell set up, and then you could look for the sell. UI on the daily. So this is definitely due for a correction. We're looking at WXY, extended wave Y. We're looking for a price to come down to this 38.2 and then the Z up. On the H4, we got that WXY X to the Z up. The problem here was we got the Z up and we lost all the bearish divergence. And now we're sort of looking at it as an A, B, C. So we may even get more upside. Not really. I definitely don't want to be buying up here. You know, I'll be following what's going on the lower time frames. We had a nice sell on it. We've got that WXY, X2, Z down. We lost all the bullish divergence, so I'm just looking for a correction and then more downside. So yeah, I'd be looking for some sort of we want a larger correction before you look for the sell. The Swissy on the daily, we got that WXY. Lost all the, there's no bearish divergence, so I'm just looking for a correction in here for an X2 and then a Z up. This is becoming, we're in a big B wave or an X wave, so it's choppy. H4, I was looking for that like WXY, X2, and then the Z up. We never got that Z. It started to go, but it never went up and broke that top, unfortunately. So now I'm looking at like that A, B, C. The problem here is they're all looking very impulsive. Like that looks impulsive, that looks impulsive, that looks impulsive, that looks impulsive, and even this is looking impulsive. So it makes it very difficult. We need to find that B wave. As you can see, I'm looking at this as the B wave. We get an A, B, and a C up as a running or expanding flat. Depends on how far this one down here goes. But yeah, I think we are getting bullish divergence. We are getting bullish divergence. So it starts to get risky to sell. Yeah. And for the buy, you know, you really need to break out. Nice impulse, breaking that top and then giving you a correction. And then look for the buy. Yeah, it could be a while away. This may just keep on dribbling down here. It's going to be very risky to trade. You can see, like, you know, deep pullbacks. So it is getting quite difficult to trade. The CAD on the daily, we've got that A, B, C. We're looking at up to the 100 fib. We never got up to the 100 fib. We got the bearish divergence. So this may be all, unless we got this correction in here. Still definitely not out of the question. Looking at an A, B, C, and then more upside. You'd be targeting that 100 fib, but really need a nice setup. I was looking for the sell on this, on the H1. We've got that, like, well, we got an A, B, and I was looking for this C down to that 100 fib. It's never gone. It broke the low, and it's just giving us another little flat in here. So you could look for just an A, B, C in here. Then if you get the buy set up, you know, you could look for that buy. GY on the daily. So we got that Z up. We got the bearish divergence. We're getting this big correction in here. I'm looking at this as an A, B, C, and then we get an A, B, C, then another A, B, C as a long drawn out correction. We're looking at a larger correction after we got that Z, and then possibly more upside and go and breaking the top. It hasn't fallen over. It's corrective up here. So, yeah. If we look at, well, you can see what I'm looking at. On the H4, very similar to what I just showed, looking at an A, B, C, then an A, B, C, then the A, B, C. Looking at the H1, what we can actually trade, we want to wait for a correction. We've got a nice, nice lower low, so we want to wait for a H1 correction and then look for that sell. This should be a nice trade next week. If we get the nice correction, we'll definitely be able to sell this. EG on the daily. So nothing's changed. Looking for that A, B, C. Then we get that A, B, C. We never quite got up to this 100 fib. But on page 4, we're looking at that WXY. X2, we got the Z down, we got the bullish divergence. But again, we are looking for more downside. We are looking for it to go and break the bottom. I was looking for something a little bit more impulsive. Started to give that bullish divergence, so it starts to get risky, On the H1, you can look for another one down. We sort of got this like WXY getting an X2 with bear hidden here, so we may get a Z down. So you could look for the sell, and the Z down may, like what USD Japan did, it gave us that Z down and we lost all that bullish divergence. So this may do the same thing, and then we'll be just looking for a correction and more downside if we lose the divergence in here, goes and loses all that divergence. Well, then we'll just be looking for another correction and then more downside. But yeah, gold on the daily. So we're looking at an A, B, C, and then an A, B, C possibly going up and breaking that top. But yeah, we are getting to the end of X2 on the weekly. So the time factor there. So this may go from here. It's definitely not out of the question. The H4, we got that WXY, X2. We got the Z down. We lost all that bullish divergence. So I was just looking for a correction and another one down. This is turning very bullish. I did put a trading view idea out on this. That's why there's all this on here. So this was a really nice trade. Just about got up to that first target. I think it did get up to it. The fibs changed a little bit. We lost the bearish divergence, so there is no bearish divergence. So I dare say, we're going to get more upside up to this 61.8. Probably get a like a WX XY X2 down to 38.2, and then we'll get a Z up. So I do think there's a little bit more upside in this. So any bullish setup you get, you can look for the buy. At this stage, you really need the bearish divergence before you can start to sell. WTI on the daily. So we got that Z up. We lost all the bearish divergence. So I was just looking for a correction and then more upside. We're starting to get that correction. It may become more complex. So I'm looking at an A, B, C. And then we get an A, B, C. And then we get an A, B, B, C. My pen's not working real well. So I am looking for a rather complex correction in here because we got that Z up. So I'm looking for a large choppy correction before we go up and break that top again. On the H4, I was looking for this Z down. We did have a bear hidden. It never went. It started to go, but then it just never went. So there's a couple of different things that can happen here now. Either we get like something like an A, B, C, and then we get an A, B, B, C for a larger correction, and then we get like an A, B, C for more downside, or this is the end. I don't think it's the end though. This here is still looking very corrective. I mean, it did go and break that top. So if you were in this short, you would have, if you didn't take any profit or got out at break even, you would have taken a hit on it. If we go down to the H1, I think it may be over now. If we look at this, we got some sort of flat in the middle here. We could look at it as a flat or just a W, X, Y, X2, X2, and then a Z up. We do have all that bearish divergence. So if you get any sell set up, I'd be looking for the sell to go and break that low. Yeah. Bitcoin on the daily. So we're looking at that A, B, C on the weekly. Yeah, it's very choppy down here still. We got that A, B, C, and we do have that bullish divergence. So I was looking for like an impulse up and then a correction and then more upside. But this is looking very corrective down here. It's looking very bearish. And it may have completed a structure down here too. So, we've got some sort of A, B, C. Then you get that A, B, C. Then you get the A, B, C. My mouse isn't playing very nicely today. And we are getting bearish divergence here. So if you go down to the H1, there may be a little bit more upside in it. Yeah, well, the H1, we don't have any bearish divergence. So, if you do get any sort of correction, you can look for the buy. You definitely want to be watching out for that 100 fib because we may get a bounce off that and then a sell setup. If you get that sell setup, that's the one that you want. Just because this is looking so corrective, it's very difficult to buy this, for the long term. It's just, yeah, I was hoping we would get a reversal, but we didn't, and it's looking bearish. So yeah, S&P 500. So nothing's changed. We got WXY looking for an X2 and then a Z down. This is very, like, this one here was very sharp, but I am sort of starting to look at it as part of the possible correction as an A, B, C in here for a flat. H4, I don't think, we do have bearish divergence. This is pretty unusual. It's looking very motive. I mean, we're looking for the buys, but looking for an A, B, and a C. We have bearish divergence, and this has gone way past 123.6. So I dare say this will at least get up to that 161.8, and then we'll get another correction for a WXY, X2, and then a Z up. And then we may get a self set up. To buy up here though is, yeah, that's another thing. H1, no, I don't think we have any divergence. We're sort of looking for this last week, you know, as a flat. Waiting for this down in here, and then more upside. We got the upside. I mean, these little flags here are going. So you definitely could, you know, you can see these. They're going quite well, you know. They're breaking out and they keep on going. So you know, you could keep on trading flags until you start getting the bearish divergence, and then you definitely want to start to stay out of it. As you can see, we don't have any bearish divergence yet, so you know, yeah. AU 200 on the daily. So we're looking at WXY, X2, and then a Z down on the daily. Again, this is quite unusual because we do have bearish divergence forming, but I dare say, you know, this will keep on going up to that 161.8, and we'll lose that bearish divergence. Then we'll get an X2, and then we'll be looking for that Z up. You're sort of a bit late to be jumping on these, you know, they've already gone. Yeah, again, you know, I'd be waiting for a correction like this. You know, if you get a correction, we'll then look for the buy. I really wouldn't be looking for flags up here. You know, because we're starting to get up to that 161.8. It still can get up a little bit further, but you know, can start to give us that X2 at any time. Looking at the DAX, I'll just go over it quickly on the daily. So we got that WXY, and we're looking at an A, B, C. Looking for more upside up to that 100 pip, and then we'll get an A, B, C. H4, as you can see, well, it's better seen on H1. They're virtually the same count. So we're looking at that WXY, X2, and we're looking for that Z up. as you can see, we're getting bearish divergence and we're at that 123.6. It may give another flag here and get up to that 161.8, but then if you get the sell set up, then you could look for that sell. So I hope you enjoyed the weekly outlook. Hit the thumbs up, share, like, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you out there next week.